Hey folks, this is Riker with a Diablo 3 patch 2.6.6 Season 18 Monk Starter Guide. In this video, we'll cover a couple notes on speeding your way to level 70, what to do as a fresh level 70 monk, how to get your full 6-piece bonus via Season's Journey Hatred Gifts, the Inna set, and how to transition from that into an endgame build. Now, as a season starter set, Inna's is fairly robust. While the 2- and 4-piece bonuses aren't fantastic, the 6-piece bonus can apply damage to any ability. It buffs your damage generally, rather than relying on you focusing on specific skills. So when you're a relatively new character and you don't yet have a lot of supporting items, whatever items you find can be worked in. That said, with Innas you can build towards an endgame Inna Wave of Light build, and then you can always have the option to transition to a Legacy of Nightmares or Legacy of Dreams build, using the new to patch 266 Legacy of Dreams Legendary Gem. Now a quick note on challenge rifts. Don't do the weekly challenge rift this week until the season starts. The challenge rift bag is a huge boon to a fresh character. And if you do it before the season starts, you will not be able to open that bag on your new season character. So wait for season to start, create your new character, then go do that challenge rift, then open the bag for huge rewards. We're talking 5 million gold, almost 500 blood shards, tons of crafting mats. It'll really help speed you along your 1 to 70 journey and beyond. And one immediate way in which it'll help is with level 1 blood shard gambling. The monk has a ton of useful options here. But my first recommendation would be to gamble on boots. At level 1, there are only 2 potential legendary boots that you can get by gambling at Kadala. The first is the crudest boots, and these are a mandatory item for later in the game. They won't help you tremendously at low level, but they will be essential for when you have your Innas set together. The other option is the Rivera Dancer's boots, which will not be part of a full-on endgame build, but can be tremendously helpful, especially at leveling 1 to 70, and even beyond before you have a real proper setup. These give you a huge buff to lashing tail kick damage. Now, if you're lucky enough to get both of these boots, then you can start gambling on bracers. There are 3 potential bracers you can get, each of them helpful towards leveling 1 to 70. They'll translate into big damage buffs, and one in particular, Pinto's Pride, that buffs Wave of Light, will be mandatory for our end game. As you continue leveling from 1 to 70, if you find any additional items that will buff certain skill damage, definitely try to work those into your build or build around the best setup you got. On a monk, you'll likely find a number of items that will buff specific skill damage, so if you happen to find 2 items that buff a certain skill, then you probably want to build around that. But of course, use your logic and see which items synergize best, which give the best buffs. Another note is that while leveling 1 to 70, instead of an emerald in your weapon, you'll want to use a ruby, because the emerald does give crit damage, but it only becomes better than the ruby once you've built up enough crit chance. If you're not critting often enough, then just the raw damage that the ruby provides will be better, and for most of the 1 to 70, that's going to be the case. It's only once you're nearing level 70 that you might start building up enough crit chance to make an emerald worth it. So once you're 70, how do you go about going through your season journey chapters in order to get your Hadrig's Gift rewards and your full Inna set? Again now, if you have items that buff specific skills, it will be best to build around those, but right here we're presenting a gear-independent build. If you're the most unlucky person in the world, here are the skills that you can use to get yourself the 2-piece bonus of Inna. For our generator, we're going to go with Crippling Wave Mangle. For a generator, it's pretty hard hitting, applies damage in a nice little area, and has as a bonus a little bit of crowd control. For our resource spender, we're going to want Wave of Light, Explosive Light, or if you're having trouble against single target DPS, if you have to fight a boss for instance, you might want to swap to Pillar of the Ancients. Basically, Explosive Light is the rune for clearing huge swaths of enemies on the screen. Pillar of the Ancients is for dealing with single targets. For mobility and toughness, we're going to take Dashing Strike, Blinding Speed. If you feel you don't need the extra toughness that blinding speed gives you from the dodge chance, you can always go with Way of the Falling Star instead for more movement speed. Now, Wave of Light is a very resource-intensive skill, so we're going to need some help maintaining our resource. One thing we're going to use is Sweeping Wind, Inner Storm. When we pop Sweeping Wind, a vortex appears around us that lasts 6 seconds. But whenever we strike an enemy with a melee attack, that refreshes and restarts that countdown. Then every time we crit, we build up an extra Sweeping Wind stack up to a potential total of 3 stacks. And with our Inner Storm rune, as long as we maintain 3 stacks, we gain 8 spirit per second. So this is the main reason we're doing this, for that massive spirit gen. To further help with that spirit gen, we're going to take Mantra of Healing. Passively, this gives us life regeneration. And the Circular Breathing rune gives us 3 additional spirit per second. And then lastly, we're also going to take Mystic Ally, Air Ally. Passively, the Air Ally gives us 4 spirit per second. And when we pop the active, we instantly gain 100 spirit like a spirit potion. If, however, we have the crudest boots, this effect is doubled. The passive would be 8 spirit per second, and the potion would be 200 spirit. As for our passives, we're gonna again try to maintain our resource generation with Chant of Resonance. Because we have a mantra, we're gonna gain an additional 4 spirit per second. And then with Exalted Soul, we're getting another 4 spirit per second. That said, we're still going to be using Crippling Wave Mangle, our generator. We need to use it to maintain Sweeping Wind, and we're still going to be running Resource Thirsty. So, with Mythic Rhythm, every 3rd hit from a spirit generator increases the damage of your next damaging spirit spender by 40%. And then lastly, Seize the Initiative will give us an attack speed buff whenever we hit enemies that are above 75% health. Now, using this, you should be able to get all the way to your 6-piece bonus. However, it's possible you might face a little bit of trouble, specifically against bosses or single targets, going from your 4-piece to 6-piece. So if that is the case, again, make the swap from Wave of Light, Explosive Light to Pillar of the Ancients. Outside of that, we're going to sacrifice some Spirit Generation for more toughness. So we can lose Exalted Soul and grab 6th Sense instead. On Mantra of Healing, we can swap our rune to Time of Need to give us more damage reduction. And on Mystic Ally, we can actually swap to Water Ally. The active effect will freeze your enemies for 3 seconds. So it's a nice little interrupt if you feel a big damage spike is going to come your way. Again though, throughout all of this, hopefully you found yourself those Pinto's Pride bracers. Otherwise, getting them would be tremendously helpful towards dealing enough damage to deal with everything you can. I would put that as your priority 1 with respect to Blood Shard gambling. Now, once you got your 6-piece bonus, that's when your damage really starts to come alive. You gain, first off, the 5 runed Mystic Allies at all times, and your damage is increased by a ton for each Mystic Ally you have out. This is where your crudest boots come into play. The crudest boots will double your damage because they're doubling your number of Mystic Allies. From here, you can work with whatever skill you want to work with. If you have items that buff Tempest Rush, for instance, then you can go with a Tempest Rush build. However, you likely will be wanting to build towards in a Wave of Light. We got a video on that build over here, and the only changes you might want to make to that for Season 18 would be working in the new Squirts Necklace Amulet. Basically, as long as you don't take damage, your damage increases. This would be a substitution for the Traveler's Pledge Amulet, which also means you'll be losing the Compass Rose Ring. Instead of that ring, you can go with an Obsidian Ring of the Zodiac. Then another option to build from in a Wave of Light will be transitioning into a Legacy of Nightmares or Legacy of Dreams Wave of Light build. Patch 266 introduces a new legendary gem, Legacy of Dreams, which basically contains in it a form of the season bonus of Season 17. That is to say, you gain the effects of Legacy of Nightmares without having Legacy of Nightmares. In short, the differences here would be, if you're going with Legacy of Nightmares, then you need those 2 rings, and in your cube you'll have an Obsidian Ring of the Zodiac. If you're instead going Legacy of Dreams, then your 3 rings will be Obsidian Ring of the Zodiac, Unity, Convention of Elements, but you'll have to sacrifice one of your legendary gems for the Legacy of Dreams gem. So your gem setup will likely look like Bane of the Trapped, Bane of the Stricken, Legacy of Dreams. And that's going to wrap up this video, but do be sure to check back later this week for our Season 18 tier list video ranking all of the best builds of the season. Also, a quick reminder that you have until September 1st to get your name on the Rikers Raiders 2019 t-shirt, banner, hoodie, all that stuff. Thanks for watching. Special thanks to my Twitch, Patreon, and YouTube supporters for making these videos possible. If you like what you see on this channel and want to support the creation of more content, you can consider pledging on YouTube or Patreon and unlocking behind-the-scenes content, monthly virtual hangouts, and more. If you enjoyed this video, please share it. Check out these other videos and subscribe to join Rikers Raiders for more Diablo content.